All right, so to begin, we're going to unscrew the top screw and separate our two hoops. You're going to lay your inner ring down on a hard flat surface and grab both layers of this dusky rose fabric and place it on top of the inner ring, about centered. Then you might want to unscrew the top a little bit more. You're going to stretch it out and press it down over both layers of fabric. Then you can pick up the hoop and you can start to tighten the screw as much as you can. Our goal here is to get all of these little lines and wrinkles to disappear. We want to get our fabric nice and tight. So I've got this pretty tight up here. I'm going to take a little break and I'm going to start pulling the edges of the fabric. Not so hard that I break the hoop apart, but as tight as I can to get rid of some of these lines. Or in my case, sometimes my dog's hair. It's just everywhere. If you have pets, I'm sure you understand. Okay, so this is looking better. I'm going to give the top screw one more tighten here. Get it nice and tight. Pull all the way around again. At the same time, I'm also leveling up the sides so that they meet. That helps to kind of tighten it. Okay, the last thing I want to do here is just take my scissors and cut some of this excess fabric off so that I have about 1 inch on each side. You don't want to cut it too close because we still need to be able to hoop this up at the end. But I just like to cut some of the excess off because if I leave too much, you can sometimes stitch through it while you're working, and we don't want that. All right, so now for the pattern. This is for stick and stitch. So I am just cutting this out right now. If you purchased the kit, it will come pre-cut out for you. But if you print this out at home onto your own sticky paper, you just want to make sure that you're cutting on the interior of that black circle outline. You don't want to leave that black circle outline as part of the design. You want to cut that off. So I have this ready. So I'm going to gently peel the pattern away from the back, just like a sticker, and stick it onto my hoop. Like so. It should fit just about perfectly. 6-inch hoop. And then just press it down all around. And we're ready to begin. Yay! If you chose to transfer the pattern via tracing, I'm going to show you how to do that now. So I'm going to start the same way. I'm going to separate my two rings in my hoop and lay the inner hoop down. But I'm only going to grab one layer of fabric right now. You have two. We'll use the other one in a little bit. I'm just going to grab one for now, and I'm going to get that hooped nice and tight. So lay this down. Tighten up my screw. The reason that we want to get it nice and tight for tracing, even though we're going to re-hoop it, is because we don't want to pull and stretch the design later when we're trying to get it tight. So we want to get it as tight as it would be when we're stitching for the tracing step. So I'm pulling all the way around here. Level this up a little bit. All right, that seems pretty good. I might just tighten this up one more time. And now we'll head to our light source to trace. Okay, so what I have here is a light box that I purchased from Amazon for about $20. These are really good for tracing patterns. You can also use an iPad app, Lightbox app, or a window. Works great. So I've got just the one layer of fabric hooped up. I'm gonna flip it over. This is how we would stitch. We're going to flip it over so that it lays flat against your pattern. So you should be able to clearly see it, especially when you press down, and we'll be able to trace. grab a heat erasable pen or whatever you prefer to trace with. I'm using Pilot Frixion heat erasable pen, and you're just going to begin tracing your design. I think I forgot to mention, we have this printed out on cardstock at 100% scale, and I taped it down to my light box so that it doesn't move. So now I'll place this on top, and I'm going to begin to trace every element here. Oops, my light box just turned off. Okay, so you can kind of start wherever you want. I'm just going to start right here. When you are tracing, you want to think about the idea that you are more coloring than tracing, especially with a cotton linen fabric blend. It's very textured. So straight lines, big pulls are not going to work well. So you can see I'm doing tiny little pen strokes here, almost like I'm coloring back and forth. And I'm working nice and slow. This pattern has a lot of little details, so it will take a little while to trace, but taking your time is worth it, because the better you can trace the pattern, the better that you will have a good reference for when you're stitching. So you're going to continue like that until you have the whole pattern traced. Okay, I have the whole pattern traced, so I'm going to take it out of the hoop now because we want to re-hoop it correctly, plus with another layer. So I'm going to separate these, lay my inner ring down. I'll go ahead and lay the other piece of fabric down first, and then lay this one on top, like so. Once you feel like you have it placed about centered, you're going to lay your outer ring back down on top. You might need to untighten the screw just a little bit more to make it fit over both layers. This feels a little bit off to me, so I'm going to just rework it just a bit. I'm just going to move it over slightly this way so that lines up a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. So now I will re-tighten the screw at the top and pull my fabric nice and tight again. Should be a bit easier to get nice and tight this time because you have the 2 layers of fabric that you're working with. All right. The last thing we want to do is cut away some of the excess fabric here, leaving about 1 inch of excess fabric on each side. That way, as you're stitching, you won't accidentally stitch through any of these big extra corners that we have here. So once you have it looking like this, we are ready to begin stitching.